everybody. Today's topic of this podcast is the impact of social media on high schoolers. And I say high schoolers specifically because even though I'm sure that social media has had an impact on people of every generation, like if you're alive today and you're under 60 years old, you probably at least know what it is. But I also think that it's more important to talk about the effects of it on the mental health of young people because we've been exposed to it a lot more than older generations, and we are going to experience the long terms of it. So see what the effects of it are in the long run, whereas they aren't, which is why it's more important to talk about the effects of it on younger people. Anyway, obviously I'm a young person. I'm a high schooler, so throughout this whole podcast, I will be speaking from personal experience because I am an avid social media user, which is not something that I'm the most proud of, but it is what it is. And I have consciously and subconsciously weighed the pros and cons of social media many, many times in my head. I have tried many things, many ways to convince myself to get off apps and do my work because, let's be honest, half the time social media is just a distraction from the real world. But I can't say that it doesn't have a lot of pros. I mean, social media is what keeps us in loop with others. It's what keeps us updated on knowledge. It's what keeps us maintain a connection that we wouldn't otherwise have. But is this really a good thing? Because what I have noticed is that a lot of connections that are created and maintained using means of social media are more superficial than real life connections. And because they're so easily accessible, you have interactions with people that you don't even know at the click of a button. It takes away from real life interactions. It makes people want to have real life interactions less. That is one of the cons, and I think that is a really big con in my generation. I have online friends, but it's just not the same as having real friends. It's not the same. Listen, I use my online friends for one thing, They're good for talking to. But they can't compare to real friends. People you talk to in real life, you will always get more meaningful things out of them, more meaningful words. You will always have a deeper connection with them. But that's not all of it. That is more so the connection part of social media. Because how I see social media is in 2-3 categories. The first one is connection with friends or connection with people. So when you look at the main social media platforms like Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, all of them, they all have like compartments where you message people. The messaging compartments, the texting compartments. And that's just where you talk to people. That's one of the main, obviously, the purposes of social media. The second one is just entertainment purposes, consuming information, consuming content. And the third one is posting content. So I think the most potent category of those three is the consuming entertainment one. And I think it is the most problematic. I heard once a while ago that social media algorithms are purposely designed to keep you addicted to them and purposely designed to keep you scrolling through them endlessly. Because I cannot say how many times I have been just scrolling mindlessly through my For You page, through my Explore page, whatever, when I have had so much work that needed to be done. And I would love to blame it all on the algorithm, the way it's made. But honestly, it's also just me not owning up to the fact that I have a lot of work to do. And I feel like it's like that for a lot of people, because when I talk to my friends about this subject, they're all like, oh, I had homework to do. I had to study for this test. I had an assignment to do. I was supposed to do it yesterday, the day before, whatever. I couldn't because I was just mindlessly scrolling through my For You page, consuming unnecessary information. I can't say I've learned a lot of things from just scrolling. I've learned things that I would never know otherwise. But these things are not as useful as they should be. they're not worth the time you could be putting into actual work, the time you could be putting into your friends and family, the time you could be putting into doing things you love. It's entertainment, but it's cheap. One phrase I heard was that it's kind of just a cheap dopamine hit. It hits at your dopamine, it digs at it, it gives you like, hits of dopamine, but it's not dopamine that you had to work for, because it's so easily accessible. Everybody can access it, and everybody has access to it 24/7. And that's why it's cheap, because you don't have to work for it. Dopamine activities that you do have to work for example, hobbies and even schoolwork, I would consider that a dopamine hit, because if you put a lot of effort into an assignment and then your teacher praises you for it, that gives you a dopamine hit that you actually worked for, and that's a healthy dopamine hit. And that's what we all strive to look for. But, I'm using this as an example to say that social media is just designed to keep you addicted, designed to keep you on the platform. I'm not sure if that's how it originally was created, like from the very start. But I am 100% sure that as it gained popularity, more and more people started to be addicted to that entertainment category. And referencing the content posting category, that can also have some very bad effects on people, because one thing I noticed is that a lot of people my age get validation from posting on social media, and it's not good validation, because half the time not even half the time, most of the time, the things that they post on social media are very much altered. They don't reflect their real life, which is fine. There is no judgment in that. I'm not judging this at all, because I can't say that I haven't done it either. But it's just an altered, polished up version of themselves that doesn't exist in real life, and they get validation from something that doesn't really exist, which will never be good validation, and they will never feel fulfilled with themselves or satisfied with themselves from this type of validation, which is why I think it's so harmful, especially when you see all these influencers, all these popular content creators, and they post things that don't reflect their real lives at all. They post photos of themselves, and that's not what they look like. They post their life, but it's only the good parts of it and not the bad parts. And then everybody thinks to themselves, whether they would admit it or not, why can't my life look like theirs? Why can't I look like them? Why can't I do what they're doing? How is it they have such a good life and I don't? But that's never the reality, ever. Like, I can guarantee that most people who post on social media and have some kind of big following or mediocre following, nothing that they post reflects their real life. And I know this because I've never once met a person in my life that posted things that reflect how they actually are in real life. Because the only reason why we post on social media, if it's not like for education purposes or, if it's merely just to get validation, it's never going to be something that reflects the real you. Because you want validation, and I just assume that it's not that nobody feels good enough, it's just